we're going to do is we're going to take the whole first year. As you can see, July was right here. Then August was the blue dots. September was the yellow dots. The maroon dots were October, et cetera, et cetera. So you can see we're kind of moving in a counterclockwise direction around our system. The next few months we'll go through this area right here, and when July comes around, we'll be starting the red dots again and kind of filling in the gap. So we'll just continue that cycle as we go through the process. Interestingly, we've converted 33 of the physical meter reading routes to remote meter reading routes, which means we don't have to send someone out right now. And that basically covers the red, blue, yellow, and I'm colorblind, maroon or purple dots, whatever that is, through October. We were very aware of customer acceptance going into this. When smart meters were first rolled out in California and some of the other states, there was a lot of community resistance to those. Part of that was due to some misinformation about the potential health effects and the privacy concerns about meters. Right now, that's less of an issue. By the end of 2016, we had, across the country, over 70 million electric smart meters have been deployed. That means more than half of all the homes in the United States have electric smart meters right now. Water smart meters are also catching up. 26% of U.S. households have smart water meters. So it's becoming much more accepted right now. But still, we didn't want to take any chances. We wanted to take advantage of lessons learned by the utilities, so we decided early on that we wanted to allow our customers to opt out if they didn't want an advanced meter. Very happy to report that of the over 17,000 premises that we've contacted, so far we've had only 64 that have opted out as part of this deployment, which is less than 0.4%. The industry average is around 3%, so we're doing about 10 times better than the industry average as far as opt-out percentage goes.
Is that concentrated? Are those 64 concentrated in any part of the city?
No, sir. It's in that area that we have. It's throughout that area that I showed you on that colored dot map earlier. Just that there's been no pocket of resistance or anything like that, and that's a very interesting question, and I'll get into that in just a second. We are getting some positive feedback as opposed to resistance from customers with the advanced meters. And kind of interestingly, I think we've had over 500 customer requests to be moved up in the deployment. They want the advanced meters more quickly. So we try to honor that whenever we can. Now, we do run into some isolated concerns from customers. One of the things that this is driven by, I think there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. And some people kind of fall prey to the scare tactics that are out there and have very strong feelings about advanced meters. This customer, all of these pictures were taken at one house. This customer declared early on that she wanted to opt out, which we honored. But as part of the opt-out thing, we still have to replace the original analog meter with a digital meter, but without the communication device. So it's not an advanced meter. So we were perfectly willing to do that, but she didn't want us to replace her meter. So she even went to the step, as you can see there, putting the kind of homemade lock bar on the electric meter. This is both illegal and dangerous. KUB owns the meter. It's part of our rules and regulations that we have to have access to the meter at all times. For instance, if there had been a fire at the home, one of the first things the fire department asks us to do is to cut power to the house. The quickest way to do that is to remove the meter. So obviously we would not have been able to do that quickly in this situation. We'd have to go to the pole or something like that. So we had several contacts and correspondences with this customer. She continued to refuse to remove the lock bar. At the end of the day, we had to get a police escort, go on the property and physically remove it and replace it with a digital meter, which we're still honoring her request not to have the advanced meter, but it does have to have a digital meter, which we have done. Sometimes customers with strong feelings want to influence others. We had the Stop KUB Smart Meters Facebook site that developed about a year ago, shortly after my presentation to you. And this person wanted to kind of start a grassroots effort against smart meters across the KUB service area. They even had an event to try to encourage more people to participate in that. They also published a guest editorial in the Knoxville Mercury, and the Knoxville Mercury was kind enough to offer us the opportunity to respond. And so we did that the following week. It's kind of interesting. Some of the things that were cited in this guest editorial here about concerns, we were able to use a white paper that we had developed that showed some of the pseudoscience and some of the biased research that had gone into the wrongful conclusion that there were health effects associated with smart meters. What we did in the white paper and in this follow-up guest editorial was just pointed out that a lot of the claims about health effects of smart meters were based on people who had agendas, and what we prefer to go on are the more legitimate research, like the World Health Organization research, that shows that there is no link at all between health effects and
did you do education on the front end to the folks, and how was that? Was it, did it detail all those things in advance so that, because we knew that some of this was going to come up?
Yes, what we have talked about that, we've got this white paper on our website. We have a lot of frequently asked questions about smart meters on our website, which includes the health effects as well. So we did get the word out.
And we spent about 5 months doing that before we started the transition, so that people could opt out before we even started the program.
One of the other things that was done by the Stop KUB Smart Meters group is they delivered information packets to homeowners associations and neighborhood associations about the dangers of advanced meters. And that has not really gotten traction, but anytime we receive a request from a neighborhood association to speak at their monthly meetings, we do make every effort to do that. I've spoken to 3 of these myself, and have been very impressed with the people there, that they really are attentive, they're interested, and they're open to hearing the true story about advanced meters, which, KUB wants to be an honest broker of information on this, and that's the role that we play in this. I mentioned earlier about the positive feedback. We've gotten one customer in particular, Mr. Newell, actually contacted us very early on. He wanted a smart meter before anyone else. And so we were able to do that for him, and he tells us that he reads it daily right now. It's been very beneficial for him to track his utility information, and he's seeing lower bills as a result. He also had a very nice comment about the meter installation process that we have right here. Another customer that we've heard from is Colonial Heights United Methodist Church. Before they had their advanced meter in place, as most churches, they were doing everything they could to control costs. And so they would go out and physically read the meter, their water meter themselves, on a daily basis to just try to get a better handle on the patterns of water usage, as far as which meetings were going on, how much water they were using, this type of thing. And they're very, very happy that they have the customer portal to refer to right now, so they don't have to go out and physically do this meter reading. They can track patterns a whole lot better. One of the other positive benefits that we've seen so far are the alerts for continuous water consumption. We have the ability right now that if the water has been flowing consecutively for 48 hours, it gives us an alert. And 99% of the time, that means there's a leak going on somewhere in the house, because no one uses their water continuously for 48 hours. And so we're able to contact customers and let them know that, hey, you've got a leak somewhere in your house and it's causing your water bill to go up. You might want to take a look at that. And the customers have been very, very grateful, and we've been able to avert some very major water leaks in
Why don't we
customers'
pick
homes.
48 hours? I would think 3 hours. I mean, I did have a teenage daughter who did take 3 hours.
We got that information from Census. This is the company that we work with on the meters. They've installed thousands, if not millions, of these. And so based on their research, that tended to indicate when a water leak was apparent, that 48-hour period of time. So that's why we're using that. I mentioned the customer portal earlier. I know you all have access to this right now. This allows customers to check their consumption data in a number of different ways. Here, either electric, gas, or water, you can check it by usage or by cost. You can do a weather overlay, which is basically the temperature that corresponds with the utility consumption for the day, and usually there's an inverse relationship between how high the temperature is in the winter and how low the electric consumption is on those corresponding days. If you hold down on one of these bars, it shows you the hour-by-hour consumption, so you can really track it very closely, and that's been extremely popular. As I said, almost 900 customers have signed up so far, and that number continues to grow each day. We wanted to be an easy user experience, and so far it has been. We just had 3 calls about customers who were installing their portal, and one of those 3, they were asking, is there a charge for doing this? And we were happy to tell them, no, this is a free service that we provide. So actually, only 2 were legitimate questions about having trouble logging in. I mentioned the cost savings to date. Right now, we've just installed around 7% of the total number of meters that we're going to install. So, but even just that small number, we're already starting to see the start of the cost savings that we'll eventually achieve. 33 routes, as I mentioned earlier, have been already transitioned to AMI billing. That's Advanced Meter Infrastructure Remote Billing. So, I didn't get time to update it today, but I did hear on the way going in that they've converted 7 more, so we're officially up to 40 right now. We've eliminated 900 truck rolls already, and our meter reading savings is approaching $60,000 since July. Now, obviously, that's just 7%. That pales in comparison to what it's eventually going to be. By the end of 2021, we'll have achieved annual meter reading savings of $2.5 million. We'll have eliminated 156,000 truck rolls, which equates to around 500,000 miles. And when you start doing the math on that from an environmental perspective, 33,000 gallons of fuel not being used going out on these truck rolls, and over 200 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. So a nice impact from doing this. Projected total annual cost savings by the time we get through this is $8.5 million for all the operational savings and this type of thing, including the meter reading savings. So we're very excited. Project's going well, and we look forward to continuing. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I don't have a question, Eddie, but I have a comment. I have noticed that I think that my power comes on much quicker now that I have this meter.
It's because you become chair.
No. But like Christmas night, it went out and it immediately, I guess, sent that alert out, and it was restored even before the time that you all had estimated on your website. So I do think it makes a difference in response times.
That's good to hear that feedback. Thank you.
The first outage I had after it was installed in my house, it was in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, the alarm went off in the house, so I knew the power had gone out. And I get up and I go to my phone, and I go to the phone that we have that's not a portable phone, and I call 524-2911, and I'm about halfway through, and I went, wait a minute, I don't have to do that anymore. So I've got to be retrained myself. So it's a good program. Thank you. Last April, we, as a part of our budget presentation, we had an environmental presentation on some of the programs we were going to do. And I recognize Chris Wilson here. He's our manager of transportation and properties, and he's going to tell you about our new solar array that is going up as we speak.
Thank you, Ms. Roach, and good afternoon, Board. I do have the privilege of giving you today's update of where we stand on our solar project. Ms. Roach, I apologize, referred to, you heard about this first back in April, I think when Mr. Bowles gave a presentation on how we're investing in environmental initiatives. And then again in June when Elizabeth Hanna gave a presentation to you all that talked about the environmental stewardship. And we'll see a slide in just a minute that talks about the environmental policy that you all approved from KUB. So thank you for that. But first, let's start with a slide that's very near and dear to our hearts, and I'm sure all of you all have seen, and that is our blueprint. It states very clearly that our mission is to act as good stewards for our community resources and utility assets, customer dollars, and the environment. So that project fits within this. We're trying to do that and become a better steward of what we're doing with our resources. And if you look at one of the keys to success that we want to evaluate is being environmentally responsible. And another one that we'll touch on in just a minute is improving the customer's experience as well. So very similar to Mr. Black's smart meter portal, where there's some stuff that we can do with this that we'll talk about in just a minute. So here is the corporate environmental policy that was approved and adopted by the board, and very much a lot of the same verbiage within this, where it's being good stewards of resources, including the environment, and we serve as a resource for our customers who would like to do the same. So we're hoping that at the end of this, once it's up and running, that we'll be able to provide some learning opportunities for our customers as well. So how do we evaluate these projects when something gets brought to our attention or an idea comes up, especially if related to the environment? We kind of look at this bin chart. This was something that Mr. Bolus had in his presentation, and we look at the environmental benefits, system needs, very important to me from the facility side is when we're looking internally at our facilities, and then the cost effectiveness. And of course, we couldn't do any of this without vetting it through the budget that you all are so gracious to approve for us each year, so we appreciate that. That allows us to investigate and look at these opportunities to do projects like this. So, the corporate service rooftop solar project, when you look back at that Venn diagram, one of the key things is system needs. So we're at a place with that corporate service roof where it has reached its useful life and we need to replace it. So that was a good opportunity for us to look at the potential of using solar on the top of this roof. The life expectancy of a roof is 25 years. The life expectancy of this solar equipment is 25 years. So those marry up quite nicely, and it provides us the best opportunity to incorporate this project. As you can see, going back to talking about the budget, when we look at this, the design and construction for the new roof and the solar is $480,000. 1/3 of that is related to the solar. The other 2/3 is the roof that we were going to do anyway because it's reached its useful life. And just here's just a quick picture. I think some of you have seen before. These gray tiles represent the solar panels and where they'll be. There's roughly, I think there's 154 tiles on this roof and it's 50 kW. And just kind of some orientation, you can see this is the west end here. This is a guard station, which is our main entrance. And you can see the visibility going east and west on Middlebrook Pike. Individuals will be able to see the top of this roof. The one thing that will be different in the next picture, the roof itself will be a white roof with some white rock on top, and that helps a little bit with the heat island effect, so it'll be a much cooler roof and help in a green aspect for the roof as well. So why did we entertain this idea? We wanted to look at some benefits that KUB could get, and one of the biggest benefits is we can gain some knowledge and familiarity with solar equipment. And when we look at that internal, we've got our new service department, so they can provide support for customers with solar installations. The operations folks, those folks that work in those environments, can gain a better understanding of how this impacts our system. And then from the facility side, we gain experience for any future potential projects that we may do. And then, of course, very similar to what Mr. Black talked about on the portal for the smart meters, there's some technology that will allow us to do some performance monitoring and some energy reporting for the solar on that roof. And one of the aspects that we want to incorporate, hopefully, of that is some sort of web application on our website that when someone goes out to a school or a community event, we can show real live application of how that is working on our building and answer those questions that the customers in the community may have. And then also, if we go back to the blueprint, you can see that we participate in the communities that we serve, and we also want to improve the value of our services through efficiency, innovation, and communication. So we're trying to communicate what we're also trying to educate ourselves on. So what are the environmental benefits? We're going to offset 45 metric tons of carbon dioxide annually. So some examples of that, if you look at it from the greenhouse gas emissions perspective, that's 110,000 miles driven per year. And then from the carbon dioxide perspective, emissions from 5,100 gallons of gasoline consumed in a year. For KUB, we're going to offset 15% of corporate services electric load with this 50 kW solar on the roof. And where we're at today, the big update is we have actually began the roof replacement. That's a picture of them loading the equipment onto the roof. We plan to start the solar work sometime in late March with a completion date of this summer. Any questions?
reasons, another reason we like this location is it will be visible from Middlebrook Pike, and we want our customers to see that we're involved in this endeavor, so it's good PR for us. Thank you, Chris.
I have one question.
Yes.
Why did you cover the whole roof?
Why did we not, I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
stepping in, so.
Why, how did you choose the size?
When we started this project, we were looking at it from a program where we partnered with TVA with the Generation Partners Program, and their restriction was a 50 kW application. We're going to go a different route, but 50 kW still fits within that return on investment and the operation of the life cycle of the roof and the PV. Thank you.
Commissioners, let me take you back, come on up, Jamie, but let me take you back a little bit. About 4 or 5 years ago, you know, we started a project that was about leadership development and succession planning. And everybody who was involved in this project spent some time evaluating themselves and looking for opportunities for improvement, working with a mentor, that sort of thing. And as we got toward the end of probably 2 years, we developed some strategic projects for this group to work on together that were actually going to be deliverables to KUB. One of those you've heard an awful lot about, and that's our water plant redundancy project. We presented a problem to them and let them evaluate it and come up with a solution. Another one of those projects was, what is the right mix between contractors and employees? If you remember, we had a mix that had really evolved over time and it really hadn't been strategic. But there was a group put together to work on really what is the right mix. And the presentation we have here today by Jamie Davis, who's our manager of underground construction, is to show you just one project that has benefited from that assessment and the changes that we made. So I recognize Jamie.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Rhodes. Commissioners, it's always good to come and talk to you about a project that's gone well, both on time and under budget. And so I'm excited to be here today, and sorry for jumping the gun and getting up here too quick.
That's okay.
All right, very good.
You didn't know I was going to talk.
That's right, sorry. But I am glad to talk about this project. And as Ms. Rhodes said, a real example of how one of the strategic initiatives is coming into play every day at KUB. But let's talk a little bit about the Streetscapes project. It came into being as part of the city's desire to have a Streetscapes project on West Jackson Avenue. To frame that geographically, we're talking about that stretch of Jackson Avenue that's bounded by Gay Street and Broadway. Some familiar sites on that street might be Sweet Peas Barbecue, the Standard Event Center, the former McClung Warehouse is on that street, and then down on the end is Balter Beer Works. When the city bid that out, our utility infrastructure, which was required to be relocated as part of that project, and it was good timing too, most of that pipe was quite aged pipe. The utility work inside those bids came back higher than what we had estimated. And so it caused us to go back and say, well, wonder why that's the case, wonder if there's something else we could do. So we asked the city, approached them and said, well, can we maybe separate that out and maybe bid that separately, maybe that would help. The city honored that request, we did that, we bid it out again, guess what, it came back even higher. Our estimate was $580,000 for this project. The lowest bid was $800,000 on the open market, ranging upwards even to $1 million for this project. So we go back to the drawing board again and say, well, what else or what options do we have? And really, ultimately, KUB underground construction crews were selected to do this job. And it really does go back, why was that an opportunity? Well, it was because of the flexibility that was provided for as part of the workforce planning initiative. You know, touch on that just briefly. Again, it was a project back in 2014 where, because this board had formally endorsed